All right, I think it's right at 12 o'clock. So maybe we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for coming today. This workshop is titled Making Online Video Platforms Accessible for Everyone. And my name is Melanie Ely, and I'm the Web Accessibility Coordinator for UNCG Online. And I have a co-presenter today, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Audrey Brickley, and I'm an ITC in ITS Learning Technology.
Yes. And so we're going to get started here and hopefully share some information that will help you in making your online video platforms accessible. Okay, so before we actually move into the how do we make our platforms accessible, just want to quickly remind everyone about why we need to make them accessible, and specifically who needs our platforms to be accessible. So throughout the world, there's about 15% of the population who has some form of a disability, and they're primarily going to be in the four categories that you see here: vision, hearing, motor, which would be partial or total loss of functioning for a body part, and then also cognitive, which focuses on difficulty in processing information. That typically affects reading, writing, communication, and attention or focus. So in order for our platforms to be accessible to people within these groups, certain features need to be available. For vision, our platforms need to be accessible by screen reader and keyboard. For hearing, it needs to have the ability to have closed captions and live captions. And those captions do need to be human generated, meaning an actual person is creating the captions, not the ASR generated, which is basically your automatic speech recognition captions. Then that's just because the ASR captions are not typically are not going to be at the accuracy rate that we need it to be. It needs to be 99% accurate for someone who's deaf or hard of hearing. For motor, primarily needs to be keyboard accessible. Cognitive disabilities, having closed and live captions available are really helpful. In this case, it could be ASR generated or human, either one is fine. And that's just because for someone with a cognitive disability, they would be using captions not to fully access what's being said, but to help with putting that information together. They're not relying on it to understand what's being said. So, talked about why we need our platforms to be accessible specifically for people with disabilities, but they also help all of us. The research that has been conducted over the past few years pretty much shows that captioning by far is the one feature that seems to benefit everyone, whether you have a disability or not. I just have a few statistics here from some of the studies that have been conducted. So watching a video from start to finish actually seems to double when captions are available. Also, about 80% of people who use captions are not deaf or hard of hearing. I'm one of those people. I really like to have captions so that it just helps me to be able to connect, or if I'm going back and rewatching something, a lot of times it can help me to make sense of things, especially if maybe that person has a distinguishable accent, can help with that. Studies have found, though, that 71% of students are using captions who are not deaf or hard of hearing. Facebook seems to be pretty popular as far as people watching videos without sound. It looks like 85% of people who watch those videos are doing it without sound. And then also captions help non-native English speakers particularly with understanding and learning the language, but also students and anyone, I kind of mentioned this before, using captions can help with spelling, helping you to learn how to spell difficult or technical terms. It can just overall help with learning and making a better connection with what's being said. Another really great use for captions, a lot of times you can use those closed captions to generate a transcript. And students often use those as study guides or aids as they are reviewing material and trying to learn information. So there are some things that we can fix, and there's some things that we can't fix when it comes to accessibility features in our video platforms. So first, want to focus on what we can't do anything about. That would be your keyboard accessibility, screen reader accessibility, excuse me, and also whether or not the platform supports closed and live captions. If you are using a platform that doesn't have any or all of these features, nothing we can do about that. And that's just because these things have to be built into the platform already. And typically the video platform has web developers who are responsible for adding these features. So like I said, if it's not there, there's really nothing you can do about those things. So there are some things that we can do that we do have some control over. And a lot of it is really being informed and educating yourself about the platform that you're using. So you can definitely determine if that video platform has accessibility features, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more and actually show you some features in some of the platforms that we have. You can also make sure that you're choosing the best video platform for your users. So for example, if you've received a notice from ORS that you will have a student in your course that has a disability, you can then determine whether or not the platform you normally use will be accessible to that student, or if you might need to find another platform. You're typically, from ORS, they will tell you if a student requires the use of a screen reader, or if the student must have captions, or if the student needs to be able to access digital content by keyboard only. So those things will tell you what you need to look for in the platform that you're using. And then also you want to make sure you learn how the accessibility features work within your platform. Closed captioning, especially because, again, that's going to be one of those things that we do actually have some control over in terms of some things that we may need to do on our end to make sure that captioning is enabled for that student. So I've got listed here the most commonly used platforms. We've got Zoom, Panopto, Canvas, Google Meet. I included YouTube. We're not really going to go into looking at YouTube today, but I know some people do use YouTube for posting if you're publicly or wanting to publicly share videos and that sort of thing. Today, we're really going to focus on the first four. Zoom and Canvas Meet are the ones that are probably used most heavily for your live meetings, live lectures. Panopto and Canvas probably most used most often for your recorded videos and videos that you're posting and sharing. So with Zoom, there are several accessibility features that are available to students or to users. It is accessible by keyboard and screen reader. It also has the ability to pin for ASL interpreters. You can pin the screen of the ASL interpreter so that just that student or that person who needs it will see it, or it can be shown to everyone who's in the meeting. It also has the ability for live captioning. Both ASR captioning and human. So with both of those, there is no, with ASR, there's no automatic integration for that. But we do have a vendor that was currently just recently approved by UNCG. It's called Verbit. They do offer ASR captioning that you can add to your Zoom meeting. There is a cost to that. And same thing for human captioning for live meetings. There's a cost for that as well. That's also done through a third-party vendor. In either of those cases, if that's something that you needed or something that you're interested in, you would want to contact either ORS, or you could contact myself through UNCG Online to help with coordinating that service. Because like I said, right now, it's not something that can be done automatically within Zoom. It has to be coordinated with the third-party vendor. Also, I almost forgot. Zoom is testing currently. They are testing ASR captioning so that it will actually be automatically in Zoom and integrated. It's not available yet, but it's something that they've been testing for the past few months. So I would expect it would be available sometime next year, which again would be great for people who have a cognitive disability or just for, any user in general. But again, the human captioning for live meetings is really what's required for someone who has a hearing disability. Zoom also has ASR closed captioning and a searchable transcript within the recorded meetings. So if you record your meeting in Zoom and you make it available afterwards, students can go in and they can, as they're watching the video, they can turn on those ASR generated captions, and it will also produce a transcript. Again, great tool for being able to use as a study guide. Being able to search that transcript is a really great feature for studying. Also, with that, you can go in and edit, which is something that you'd want to consider, especially if you have you'd want to do that if you have a student with a hearing disability in your course, because the ASR captioning is not, again, it's not at the 99% accuracy level that we need it to be. Zoom also gives you the ability to download and save a recorded meeting. That's a great option if you want to use that video and post it on another platform. The one thing that Zoom doesn't have at this point, it does not currently support uploading caption files. This is something that you would probably run into if you have a student who is deaf or hard of hearing and you've outsourced the captioning process to a third-party vendor. Those files, for the most part, should meet that 99% accuracy rate. So you shouldn't have to do any editing to check for errors and that sort of thing. But again, if you have a caption file, you would not be able to upload that to Zoom, to the recording in Zoom. You could download that recording and post it on another platform and then upload that caption file. So that's one way to get around that, but you would not be able to upload a caption file in the Zoom platform. So moving on to Panopto, we do have several features there. It is keyboard and screen reader accessible. It also supports ASR captioning. It does, unlike Zoom, it does allow you to upload caption files. And in both of those instances, you can go in and edit. As I said, though, if you have a caption file that you're uploading, you shouldn't have to do much editing. But if you're doing the ASR captioning within Panopto, you would want to go in and edit for errors. You also have the ability to download and save your videos for Panopto. So under the do not support category, I did add live captioning. Technically, live captioning is available through Panopto because you can do live meetings. However, there is about a 30-second delay when you're conducting a live meeting, and that's for anyone. For someone who requires live captioning, a 30-second delay is really not sufficient. So for that reason, I've added that under the does not support. And same thing for ASL interpreters. Because of that 30-second delay, you really shouldn't use Panopto for live meetings, especially if you have a deaf or hard of hearing person in your meeting. So Canvas Studio, with Canvas, there is no option for live meetings. So you're primarily looking at posting and sharing videos. So it does support ASR captioning. You are able to edit those captioning, or excuse me, the captions. And then also you can upload caption files. However, in Canvas, you are not able to go back in and edit a caption file that has been uploaded. And you can also download and save Canvas Studio videos. Unfortunately, Canvas is not currently accessible by screen reader and keyboard. There are a few buttons within the video player in Canvas Studio that you're not able to get to by keyboard, and they're also not labeled. The buttons aren't labeled, so when a screen reader gets to that button, it won't read to the person, you know, that button is there. And then also, of course, live captioning ASL interpreters is not supported, and that's just because live meetings are not, you're not able to do live meetings in Canvas. So Google Meet, we have, it's keyboard only accessible and screen reader accessible. It also supports live ASR captioning. You can download and save recorded meetings as well, and you can include an ASL interpreter into your live meetings. So it does not currently support live human captioning, and also you're not able to upload caption files for if you're looking to post or share a meeting later. So my final recommendations in terms of accessibility, when you're trying to consider what platform to use for live meetings and and also for sharing and posting videos, your options, of course, would be Zoom, Google Meet, Panopto. I would say best all around for live meetings would be Zoom, and that's just because it is most accessible to everyone, whether you have a disability or not. A lot of, I guess, information that's been out there in terms of people with disabilities in general have said that Zoom by far and away is the most accessible and seems to be the most user-friendly for people with disabilities. I would give an honorable mention to Google Meet. The ASR captioning, it's pretty good. But again, you know, may not be one that you would want to use if you have a student who's deaf or hard of hearing. But the ASR caption, like I said, is very good and could be appropriate if you're looking to do a small meeting and you don't have a student who's deaf or hard of hearing. Also, for sharing and posting videos, I would say best all around is going to be Panopto. Just the same reason, because it's accessible to everyone. An honorable mention would be Canvas. And I would say Canvas if you know that you don't have anyone who needs to access the keyboard only access for the video player, and also you don't have anyone who needs to use a screen reader. Okay. So now we're going to move into our demonstrations, and I'm going to turn it over to Audrey, and she's going to show you some of these features.
Yes, I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Okay. Oh, I need to stop sharing, don't I?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen and hear me
Yes.
okay? Great. Okay, so I just have one quick slide before I start moving into live demos because Zoom won't show us the controls when we're in a Zoom meeting. So if you need to use live captions in Zoom, I always recommend that you start by going to zoom.uncg.edu and checking to make sure this feature is enabled, and you want to make sure that that little switch is toggled on. It should be that way by default, but you would hate to get to your meeting and find out that at some point you turned it off or inadvertently had it toggled off. So if this is not toggled on, you won't get this button down here. And this is what we're going to look for when we're ready to caption a live meeting. So you're just going to simply click that, and it's going to kind of ask you, do you want to assign someone to type, or do you want to type, or if you have a third-party person. And so for this, I just chose I will type, and I get this little box here, and it's very simple. You just type the captions in here and they appear up here. Okay, and then now I'm going to show you how you can access those automatically generated transcripts that Zoom does create for every meeting that you record to the cloud. So if you use it in Canvas, you're going to click this Cloud Recordings tab, and then you can just select the video. And then when you select that, it's going to open it up. And your transcript is going to appear over here. Now, this appears, I think, typically maybe 20 minutes after your meeting. You'll get an email that says your transcript is ready. And like Melanie said, it's so great. You can search the transcript, which is so great for students. Any student who might say, my professor said this thing and I want to remember it, they can just hop in here and search for it, which is wonderful. And then you, as the as the owner of the video, you can actually come in here and edit those transcripts as necessary. So to get to that, 99% mark if you need it, or if they, if you have a lot of like jargon in your discipline, it can be helpful to come in here and just make sure that Zoom caught all those words correctly, because your students may be using them as learning guides. And if you didn't go through Canvas, you'll always be able to find your recordings here on zoom.uncg.edu just by signing in and then clicking this recordings option. And then when you click it here, you'll have that same option. You can click it to open and see that transcript, or you can download your transcript here, as Melanie mentioned. And it will kind of put the timestamps in there. So it's not perfect. If you want to provide it to students as a study guide, you might want to edit it a little bit. And then moving on to Panopto, let's say I'm going to start with the professional captions. If you have a caption file with Panopto, because I'm going to show you where to find that. It's under settings. So when you click settings, you'll see there is this captions link here. And this can be a little bit confusing because it tells you that there's no captioning services enabled. And so a few people have gotten in touch with us to say they wanted to add those automatic captions, but it said it wasn't enabled for me and they weren't sure why. That's a completely different thing. This is just for our professional captions. If we have a file provided to us, we would just come here to upload those captions. But if you want to have those automatically generated captions, what you're going to actually do is click edit, and it's going to open up the editor here in Panopto. And then you're going to look for captions over here. And then you're going to click import captions and then import automatic captions. And you'll see they pop up very quickly. It does do the transcribing when you're uploading your video. So all it has to do is pop them in here when you're ready to add them. But you do need to take this step if you want to make those captions available to your students. And it's very similar. See right here, they misspelled Zoom somehow. So you can come in here, just click and edit it, and that's it. So you can just kind of scroll through your video and look for any mistakes. Okay, and then I'm going to show you Studio. And Studio, this is all very similar. It's all very similar. And if you don't remember the details from this session, that's perfectly fine. You can always get in touch with me or Melanie, or you can put in a 6Tech ticket, or your school ITC would be happy to help you with this. But this should kind of show you just that it's all there for you in all these tools, and it's all pretty simple. So within Studio, you'll see there's a Captions button here, and you can either upload professional caption files or request the automatic captions. So if you want to upload, if you have that professional file, you'll just come here. And what's great about this is it does allow for these different languages. So if you're teaching a foreign language and you have a professional captioning file, you can select your language before you upload it. So you just click the button and it lets you navigate to your file, and it'll add those captions. But like Melanie said, you won't be able to edit them. But if you want to do the automatic captions, you're just going to select your language, click request, and now it's going to start working on these. And in my experience, again, this just takes a few minutes. I do have another one queued up for you so that you can see what that looks like if you do need to go in and edit them. So when you click captions, I'm going to manage my captions. I have already requested these a while back. I'm just going to click that 3-dot menu and click edits. And it's going to bring up my captions. And something that's so cool that Melanie and I just realized recently is that these services now are putting in punctuation and capitalization. So that's something just not so long ago, we actually had to go in and edit those things, but now we don't have to. And it's just like our other services where we just click in here. I'm sure this word is not supposed to be cheddar. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but I would come in here and just kind of watch and check for those errors, edit them, and then that's it. And then finally, as a bonus, I'm just going to very quickly show you guys how you can learn to test for keyboard accessibility, which is one of those that's so important because it affects so many people, not just people who use screen readers, but like my dad has decreased mobility and dexterity now that he's getting older, and he can't use a mouse. So he uses the keyboard to navigate the computer. And so I always like to let people practice with YouTube because it is keyboard accessible and everybody knows YouTube. So you just go to YouTube, pick any video of your choosing, and start using the tab button to navigate around the page. And so it provides this visual indicator here. You can see that as I tab through, or I can click Shift plus tab to go backward, and then I can hit enter to start the video and to stop it. And so that's something that, you know, if you guys have a minute, you can go and play with after the webinar. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to hand it back to Melanie in case you guys have any questions.
Cool. Thank you, Audrey,
Yeah.
for showing us that. One thing I did want to also mention, for Panopto and Canvas, you can either record your video. Well, yes, you can record your videos within those platforms, or you can upload a video that maybe you've recorded somewhere else, and you can use those captioning features for those videos that you upload. So that's another nice feature as well. I do have one final slide I wanted to just show. Resources here. The accessibility.uncg.edu/demos-checklist. That is a page that you can go to if you want to see some of the demos that we've shown today. We have some step-by-step instructions there, and also like 3 to 4 minute videos, short clips to show you those things. And then there's also my contact information and Audrey's contact information. So if anyone has any questions, be glad to show that now. And I don't think I shared my screen.
I just went ahead and did it.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. I guess you guys don't have any questions. We must have been very thorough.
I hope so.
And again, I know I went fast with those just to kind of show you. Thank you, Ben. Just to kind of show you that it's all there for you and it's not difficult to do. But if you get in there and you can't figure it out, we're always here to support you.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, feel free to, you can use our website, or you can contact me or Audrey. Be glad to help.
Yep. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.